It's the cold hard truth. Everyone really want to know what's going on with her show. Just get on the air and you will know it's Sandra. The queen of the mile road is here, helping people from everywhere. Get on the phone and you will hear Sandra. Now she will tell you how it goes, but don't you ever step on her toes, 'cause you will hear the cold hard truth from Sandra. They say she's the hero in town, helping people from all around. You get a call, your money is found, it's Sandra. Some will call her late at night just to say that there is a fight, and she will not just leave it alone. She'll get up and call on the phone, and when politics starts on her show, everyone really wants to know the way the things will really go with Sandra. Some will start to criticize, get on the show and tell pure lies, but soon they will realize it's Sandra. And when they start to argue again, she'll pull the heads to the wind, and soon you will be a friend with Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wants to hear from Sandra. Every day, everyone wanna hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day, everyone got to hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day, everyone got to hear from Sandra.
For some families, applying for early childhood education support isn't simple, and it has nothing to do with whether they need it. The early years matter more than any other, which is exactly why access to support should never be out of reach. No internet at home, a parent in difficult circumstances, a child in government care. These are real situations, and no child should pay the price for them. So we've introduced the option for a trusted third party to complete the application on a family's behalf. A relative, a social worker, a pastor, someone the family knows and trusts. The parent remains fully informed. Their consent is required, always. This is about making sure no child misses out simply because the process felt out of reach. If you work with vulnerable families in a school, a church, or other agency, you can now step in. That child deserves their chance. And now you can help make sure that they get it.
We talk about equal opportunity. Well, this is what it looks like in practice. A child's start in life should never depend on whether their parent could navigate a form. We've removed that barrier. If you need help applying, or you are in a position to help someone else, use the third-party application option. Visit us at moeapplication.gov.ky and begin the process today.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, people of the beautiful Cayman Islands. How is everybody doing? Happy Monday. It is officially August the 24th, and we are almost done with the wonderful, beautiful, fabulous month of August. Let me wish everybody who has a birthday in August, like me, a happy, happy birthday. I know that there's a lot of people celebrating. Sue Young, big shout out to Sue. She's my birthday twin as well. Gosh, there's a long list. Al Ebanks. Oh, the list just goes on and on and on. Amazing people are born in the month of August. I mean, I'm not saying that you're not amazing if you're born in another month. That's entirely possible. But I can tell you, August is the most amazing month. Just an opinion. Just an opinion. All right. So, big-hearted people are born in the month of August. Leaders are born in the month of August. No nonsense people are definitely born in the month of August. Dr. Sydney, happy birthday. He's got a birthday this month as well. Trying to think of who else has birthdays in the month of August. It's such a long list that I often do forget. So bear with me on that one. Righty ho. Okay. I've got a question for you today. If someone keeps doing the same thing over and over again, and you've helped them 3 or 4 times now, and they're back again with the same problem, at what point do you say no? No more. You're probably thinking, Auntie, you got to give us more than that. We want to know. Say someone keeps losing something. And you know, CMR has a knack for finding things for people. And every time they lose this thing, you're like, again? And you give them advice. Here's how you not lose it going forward, right? You need to put a tracker on it. You need to do this. You need to do that. And then lo and behold, they keep losing it. Do you say to yourself, clearly I'm wasting my time helping you find this thing because it cannot be that important to you where you keep it in your house. You ensure that it doesn't get lost. That's my question of the day. Do you say enough is enough? No more? Or do you just keep helping people because, you know, you have this amazing resource to do so, and no matter how irresponsible they are, CMR is going to come to the rescue? 936-2626. I'd love to hear what you have to say on this. Because I think that sometimes when we help people, we are encouraging bad behavior. We're encouraging them to continue doing what they do because they know that we're going to be there for them, that we're going to help them find this thing yet again. We're going to use our vast network to help them find that dog that they keep losing. And I'm just like, ugh, really? Again? I don't know. Am I being too hard on people after the 4th time? This is like the 4th time at least. Or are you with me thinking, yeah, Sandy, stop wasting CMR resources on this situation? Which school of thought are you? Are you like, you know what? You're helping the poor dog. At this point, I don't even think the dog should be in this home. Like, I'm really beginning to wonder what the heck is going on here. I'm surprised he hasn't got hit by a car. Some of y'all make it difficult to want to help you is the point. Oh boy. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I just, being too hard? Waking up on the wrong side of the bed? Let me see your comments. Yes, continue to help every single time. So if we get to time 20, don't complain, just do it. Or do we say, you're on your own, kid? And these people are not kids. I'm assuming they are adults. Uh-oh. I've got a knotted situation here that I might need David's help with. David the jeweler, I got a knot that I need you to sort out for me. Oh boy, I think I better leave it for him so that I don't break it. I've accidentally got a knot in my little CMR necklace. Oh boy. I feel like if I stick to it, I could probably get it out. But I don't want to chance it. All right. What are your thoughts this beautiful Monday morning? Continue to help? YouTuber says immediately no, whatever it is. Does it make a difference that it's a dog? Does your heart tug a little bit more because it's a dog? And you're like me, like, oh my gosh. Some of y'all do not need to be dog owners. I'm sorry. Just like you don't need to be parents, you also don't need to be dog owners. I'm just saying it's not for everyone. You may want a dog, but you probably don't need a dog. You know what I'm saying? You're just not a responsible dog owner. And you know what? I have a philosophy about dogs. They are not only like children, they're actually worse than children in the sense that, when I say worse, I don't mean that they're a bad thing, but they never grow up. So they need you to be responsible for them. I was saying to a friend this weekend, they're having a baby. I said, oh, you guys need to get a dog. And then they're like, something that I have to come home at a certain time to deal with? And I thought, if you're not ready for the responsibility, then by all means, don't do it. You know, they need you. They will never be able to open the front door for themselves and go for a walk. They need your companionship. They need you to walk them. They need you to feed them. They need you to give them fresh water. They need playtime. Oh my gosh, Zeus loves to play. Anytime he gets a little haircut or he goes to the groomers, he feels so good that he's like running all over the place. He's like, oh yeah, that extra hair is gone. I feel revived. Morning, Miss Dean. Miss Joy Sand says maybe they have dementia. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Stop giving people excuses, Miss Joy Sand. That's the soft part of you now. Always looking for an excuse for bad behavior. This person's young. They not got no dementia. I mean, if it was an old person with dementia, maybe I could be like, yeah, okay. No, this is not kind of situation. And to be quite frank, if you're an older person with dementia, you definitely don't need a dog. That dog is relying on you, right? So tell me now. I'm going to take this necklace to David instead of me trying to fix it and make it worse. I'll send this to him. I'm sure he can put it on the microscope for me. Let's see here. YouTuber says if it was a child and the child kept going missing, they would no longer have the dog. Right? I think so too. I think so. I believe you. Some people barely qualify as parents, and a lot of people actually don't. Speaking of people who don't qualify as parents, while this woman, Ivanye, is in the news again, and I'm a bit confused because I saw a local paper did a story about how she's calling into question the initial police investigation. And I'm like, okay. But she also said that she thought the police did a great job. So I'm like, which is it? I mean, what's your position? What are you saying, child? But here's an example of someone who clearly never needed to have children. How do you allow a criminal that is as hardcore as this guy? What's his name? Devontae. What's his name? He's got a record, like it's a mile long. How do you allow someone like that to be around your children? You know you're not a good mother, right? Regardless of whatever facade you're putting on now, trying to pretend like you care, trying to pretend like, you know, poor little Elicity had a great mom who wants his murder solved. I have to tell you that I don't believe you. You would have never exposed your child to a man who is from a teenager. He has been involved in everything under the sun. Not to mention the things that he's never been convicted of that the street's still talking that he did. How? How do you allow a child around a man like this? And then want to be mother of the year, of the century, of the past decade? You see, in my humblest of opinions, you simply do not qualify. Armed robbery, wounding, possession of a firearm, dangerous driving, cocaine. That's just and now abduction. That's just the latest list of stuff. That's what he's facing right now. That is not his extensive history dating back before he was even an adult. That's not what the police say. Yeah, we know he did it, honey child, but we can't pin that one on him because nobody's talking. We can't find the weapon. We can't this, we can't that. Anybody surprised that this man would be a child murderer at this point when you see his record? I know some people are like, well, he's never murdered a child before. Isn't that a bit of a stretch? No, it isn't. I mean, everybody's got to have a first time at murder, right? I'm sure everybody thought, oh, well, they've never done that before. That doesn't mean they're not capable. This guy doesn't seem to have one conscious bone in his body where he cares about the outcome of his own life even. And he certainly doesn't seem to care about other people. So is he capable of killing a child? Yeah. What part of y'all think that he isn't? Of course. He seems to have no self-control, right? Does things on a whim. And so in a fit of anger or getting back at someone, would he grab and strangle a little 2-year-old child? Do I believe he's capable of that? Absolutely. I absolutely do. Yep. Of course. What's a life to him? Yeah, I'm sorry, but... And I think the mother knows that he did it. And if she really wanted to help the police, what she would have done, instead of pointing fingers at everybody else, she would have told a bit more about this story. Right? Because the parts that she isn't telling are the parts that make her look bad. But girl, you don't look good no matter what. Okay? There's no amount of posts in this world. No amount of crocodile tears in this world. No amount of woe is me, I loved my daughter, I don't care what people think. OMG, she was my baby. No amount of that is going to convince me and probably 99% of the people in the Cayman Islands that you were a good mother. In fact, I heard you didn't even order. Remember the forensic, the pathologist report? Somebody told me that wasn't her. They were like, that's her aunt in the States that actually did that and paid for it. I was wondering where she got the money from, since apparently, even as a matter of court record, she was having financial problems. Because, you know, she couldn't stay off of the cocaine long enough to get her finances together. So, yeah, I'm sitting here wondering, you're not a good mother. You never have been, from all accounts. And I feel like the only way you could possibly redeem yourself is to tell the truth. Now the jurors made this man get away with it. So, of course, the difficulty is we can't try him again. Even if they had come back and said, oh, we have a hung jury, that would have been a better position. I don't know. The judge needed to explain to them. Because I think it was obvious that there was a hung jury, probably for most of the time. So the judge needed to say, listen, if you can't come back with a unanimous decision, right? A unanimous guilty, you don't have to come back with a unanimous not guilty. you can say we are hung. 5 of us think he did it. The rest think he didn't. At least that would have given the prosecution the opportunity to go at another bite at this. Maybe during that time, that foolish mother of hers would have come to her senses and have finally told the full story. Now this jury has locked this situation in. They could have said, quite frankly, hung jury on the murder/manslaughter charges and guilty on abduction. They could have done that. Right? No, honey child. This is where we need to educate jurors. I mean, excuse me. But before you get signed up for jury duty, there should be, and to the best of my knowledge, this does not happen. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I've actually never been called for jury duty, but I sit there and I don't think that this happens. There's no little, what does being a good juror mean? Course. Make it a one-day course. And you go through all of these things. If you sit at a more serious crime like murder, then, you can come back with a not unanimous decision. Just say we're hung. We can't, 3 days later, we can't decide. Don't have people swing you one way if you don't believe that. But there's no jury training. Am I right? Those of you who've done jury duty, please tell me. Because again, I've never been called for jury duty. God, they would. You know what they should do? They should have professional jurors where that's all they do is sit on juries. Sit cases. Oh, that's a hard swallow this morning. And they're professionally trained. You know what I mean? This idea of swinging people out and calling people, I don't know. I just don't know. And I think that unfortunately, there is some of them who sit there and just don't understand what's going on. Patricia Blake says, no, enough is enough. If you keep helping a person, keep doing the same thing over and over again, that means that they don't care. KK says, amen, Auntie Sandy. Good morning, Miss Emma. You have a blessed day. Morning, Leroy. Leroy says our justice system is a joke, just a big fat paycheck. Now, I'm not going to go as far as saying that, Leroy, because I see how hard people work in the judiciary. A lot of the lawyers work very hard for their clients. The judges work hard. The support staff, by and large, work hard. So I'm not going to say that the judicial system is a joke, especially in a case like this. The prosecution did, I do believe, the best they could with what they had. Now, what I am disappointed at is from the onset, this case was a lost cause from the perspective of forensic evidence because of the HSA. Nobody's talking about that, right? So forensically, and I'm going to put this out as our poll question of the day, the HSA messed up the baby Elicity case and delayed the proper police investigation by 2 years. So again, the police cannot go against it. If forensically the experts say, no, she drowned, the police can't say, no, we know it's a murder case when the forensic evidence doesn't support that. So the question today is, do you believe that the HSA management should be held accountable for this, yet again, failure? Right? There's like no accountability at that place. Absolutely no accountability. It's just crazy. More than 9 out of 10 people says that we need management change at the HSA, and yet here we are. Nothing. Crickets. Crickets. What a mess. We got to do better, folks. We have got to do better. Wow. Unbelievable. Compound that with a mother who is trying to cover up her own failures in life and her role in all of this. Just a bad combination. Mike says professional jurors would become the most corrupt profession on earth. Anyone in organized crime, etc., would just get in the habit of funding people's education to get them on payroll as pro jurors. What do you mean by funding their education? I mean, normally organized crime don't fund people's education, just as an aside. I mean, I don't see too many of them concerned about how educated you are. But what do you mean by that? So you think, I mean, I see the point you're saying. People know who they are all the time. There is a potential for jury tampering, is what you're saying? Leroy says, or maybe the DPP is a joke. A lot of times they are. They brought in a KC for this case. And again, I think this was a difficult case from the onset because the forensic evidence just wasn't there. And then when you had such a huge delay from the HSA saying that the child had drowned, you understand what that did? How detrimental that was to the case? Because the police is going down the wrong rabbit hole because they're like, okay, nobody murdered her. It was a drowning, an accidental drowning. The Ring camera, man, I really hoped that Ring camera would have caught some of, although they tried to destroy the physical camera. This is where you guys now, if you're going to be using tools like Ring, for God's sake, please, I'm begging you, make sure you subscribe to the service because they're almost useless if you don't. Who was the pathologist that did an initial autopsy? Let me see if I can get you the name. I understand that they're still there and nothing has happened to them, of course. Of course not. They probably got a promotion knowing the HSA. And not only that, but now all of the major cases, they bring in someone else. You know, it gives me a literal headache when I hear nonsense like this. Civil servants, SAGCs, people do not perform. And instead of just firing you for screwing up a case like this or for non-performance, what do? They hire somebody else at a cost to the people of the Cayman Islands to come in and do your job because you're not qualified to do it. So all of the major cases now, they have other people doing it. Forensic people from overseas, forensic experts. Wow. I mean, surely it can't be that much to have to hire. You know, you've got major cities that have forensic experts that deal with all kind of murder cases and they've got years and years of experience. But no, Cayman can't hire a decent person. I understand in 2022, it would have been Dr. Frazier, whoever Dr. Frazier is. Let me see. It's just ridiculous. Consultant pathologist, Dr. Kimoni Frazier. Boy, y'all just, oh my God. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. Good morning, Cayman.
How are
you all?
Good, thanks.
Good. Is it that they can't find someone, or is it that the people are afraid because, they know where I live, they know who I am? You know, a lot of times I think this contributes to the people. They're not strong enough and they're afraid.
Who are we talking about? The pathologist?
No. I'm talking about those that prosecute, the jury.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. those that's supposed to see the thing through, oh, they know my family or whatever. But the truth is, you can't hide because sometimes you still, whatever's going to be a lot, going to be a lot. And I believe that that's some of what happened. Oh, you know who that is. You know who they are. And you get this one, but whoever is leave behind and this and that. But we can't do that because the truth is, if it were your child, you would want the truth and you would want the person to do what is right. And I think sometimes, to me, that is some of the problem we have here, even with the judge, even with them. Just my 2 cents.
I mean, so you think that they're conflicted? I'm trying to understand, because normally the DPPs and the judges, 99% of the time, they're not even Caymanians. Let me be very clear. They don't know anybody here. They don't care.
No, but you see, because they know the place is small. Because that's the first thing people say. Everybody.
No, I don't think. I don't personally think so. No, I don't think so. They don't care. I mean, they sit there in court and they don't care who's who, and they're getting on the next plane and leaving the jurisdiction in most of the cases anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's what's going on here. I think that
something.
Yeah, I think we have to look at cases individually, and I think that in this particular instance, like I said, the first place that they went wrong was with the pathologist.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then from there, the mother, because she has more information, I honestly believe, than she's letting on. And then from there, because remember now, she only decides that she's going to testify against this guy after they're no longer in a relationship. So make that sink in, right? Your daughter dies, and you claim as a mother that you always believed that she's murdered. And yet you stay with this man. You stay in a relationship with him after your poor daughter is found in these circumstances. How does this make any sense?
Sandra, you see, drugs. Drugs is a serious thing. And it does a lot.
She's not let me be clear. From what I understand, she's not the druggie who is like, and I don't know that this necessarily makes a difference, but I want to be clear what I say that she's on drugs, right? She's not on the street, homeless, strung out, turning a trick for $25 to go and get a bag of crack. That's not what she's doing. So she's not that far gone. Let me put it this way, because I want to be very, very clear. She's still very polished, looks good. If you look at her, you wouldn't think that she had a drug problem. And that's why Maples and Calder, even after this, had her employed for a really long time before, they were finally able to get rid of her, right? She's working on the BRAC because she claims she has an autoimmune disease or something, and out here partying and living her best life. Up until the Friday night, the jury gave their verdict. I hear she's out here partying in these streets with her new boyfriend from West Bay. So, what my aunt used to say about people like her? Pretty face and dirty behind. So to look at them, you wouldn't know what you're dealing with. You would believe the story of innocence and of being such a good mom. But, people talk. The one thing with Caymanians especially, are talky business.
What they are.
So she's been leaving her children in cars while she's in a bar room drinking and having a good time and living her best life in Cayman Brat. Just gave him an iPad and made him sit there. And the police knew about it because they had stopped her before and said, you can't do this. And how she continued to have this little girl, only God knows.
Oh, then the police is responsible. I was just going to say, if people know why they didn't actually let the law know, but now you're saying that the police knew, did nothing.
There's at least one or two instances where the black police officers drove by, but somebody called in, and the children were sitting in a car. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. We got a lot of issues in this little island, though.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, we got a lot. And that's what caused it, because now sometimes this could be the cause of death. I remember that lady that killed her daughter. You know, they said according to them, her husband, he had or the police officer that was the child's father, he had reported that, you know, she threatened to kill the child.
Yeah.
That child should never have been left
But
there.
unfortunately, he still left the child in her care. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. That's
I
what I'm saying
couldn't.
with
That was
him.
another case. I was thinking about this the other day. I guess she's still in jail. Because people don't know that this is certainly not the first child murder case that we have. And that was at the hands of her own mother. Her own mother stabbed that little girl to death. She was a little bit
Yeah,
older, as I recall. But what a horrific
yes, she
case. I
was.
remember hearing that thinking, what mother can do that, right? And the father knew that she
Mm-hmm.
had some sort of issues and she had made threats and stuff before. And yet he still was comfortable enough leaving his house and
Mm-hmm.
leaving that
Mm-hmm.
child in her care.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
And
sorry,
the
but
police,
if somebody
and the
ever
police,
threatens a child or threatens to even self-harm, as responsible people in this community, whether you're family to them, your spouses, whatever, you cannot leave children in their care. Like if they've uttered those
that's
words,
right.
you can't trust them.
That's right. And they said she was bipolar and he knew it. And she was really far gone. So he should never, that's what I was saying, leave as an officer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about that. So these are the problems, you know, the responsibility of others. When you see that someone is dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
the whatever, this responsibility lies on other people to protect these children since their parents is not.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yep.
then we all feel bad when it happens that something happened to the child, you know?
Yeah.
All right, my darling. Have a good day.
Yes, my dear. Thank you so much. 936
You're
2626 is the telephone number. So, I mean, Evelyn, I don't know when the police told her that, if they allowed her to then get in the car and drive the kids home. That's a really good question, because Evelyn's like, was she then drinking and driving with the kids in the car? Who remembers that story? Kim and Brackers, help me out here. Someone says a functional junkie. Yes, I mean, there's lots of them who are falling in that category for sure. What a mess. This person says, I offer a different opinion. I think the mother accidentally killed the baby or killed the child so she could go out, discover the child was dead when she returned, then panicked, and the boyfriend took the body to hide it. So this is where the forensic evidence of when the child died becomes important, like that time, that window. And so they were in the house, according to the evidence, by what, midnight? Let me just go back and see. 1 second here. Because this is where time of death is critical. This is where timelines really do make a significant difference, right? So in the judge's summing up, they said, let me just see. Because yes, the time was really, really important. Let me just have a look here. Even in terms of how long it would take him to walk to where he was. Remember, he never actually provided any testimony during the trial. He didn't take the stand or anything. But they said, let me see here. So she claims that at 4:30 was the last time she checked on the child around 4:30. That she's been consistent with for the 4 years. And the flustered 911 call gave close to 2 hours and of like a time window, right? And then they talked about the distance from where he was, where the apartment was, to where the child's body was found, 0.7 miles over, 0.7 miles away. So they've kind of narrowed it down. So I don't think she killed the child and then went out. I think that whatever happened to the child happened when everybody was in that house in some form or another. So remember now, the other young lady who was there supposedly was sleeping on the sofa. And then this child was in her room. And then this couple would have been sleeping in another room. And she claims that she got up, she changed the baby's diaper. Was the last time she checked on her 4:30. And then not long after that, she then claims that she discovered basically within an hour that the child was missing. So there's no evidence that would have said that the child was killed earlier. And of course, what day of the week was this? It was a Tuesday night? I'm trying to remember what day she went missing. I want to say it was a Wednesday. That's sticking out in my head, but I'll have to double check. I don't know. Morning, Miss Marva. Long time you're not getting notifications. Where? On WhatsApp, or where do you normally get notifications? If you're on WhatsApp, we do send them out daily. And I must say that that's probably the best way to get the notifications. YouTuber says, even that case, he said he left her locked in the room and told her not to come out. He went to work and left that baby. How was he not charged with at least child endangerment? Yeah, I was trying to remember. Thanks, YouTuber, for that, because, you know, even the other day, I was telling somebody about this case, and they'd, of course, never heard of it. And I said, yeah, I think they're both from Jamaica, as I recall. He was an officer, and she was, what was her profession? I can't remember what she did, but yes, I think that sounds about right, though, YouTuber. Does anybody remember her name? I want to see if I can look this up in the Compass archives. Let me see. Let me ask a friend of mine who might know, who actually worked at the prison. Hold on. Let me see if I can get her name, because then maybe I could look it up. Let me see here. I can't get you this morning. All right. You know, another question I need to ask, because I think because we've been reusing the links, I didn't do it this morning, but because we've been reusing the links, I thought that would help you guys, but I'm not so sure that it does. Because if you click on the link this morning and it hasn't been refreshed, then you're getting the old one. Should I just give you the original links? I don't know what helps you better, to be honest. But you need to just subscribe to the channel. Just follow the channel and turn on your notifications. And that's the best way to do it. Oh, St. Vincent. So the officer and his wife are from St. Vincent. Oh. Okay. Oh, yes, she was 6 years old. My sweet. Oh, my God. What a precious little baby. Ugh. I don't know how people can do stuff like this. This is like the height of wickedness. But, you know, I do think in her case, she had some sort of mental health break. Obviously, she was still convicted, but remember this little baby? 6 years old. Bethany Butler. My God. She actually attended Savannah Primary at the time. So, this was 2016. Her trial began. Tamara Butler stabbed her 6-year-old daughter dozens of times in her family home. And then, as I recall, she drove the body out to East End or something really weird. And she's the wife of a high-ranking Royal Cayman Islands police officer. Is he still in Cayman, by the way? She was a communications officer at the RCIPS. Oh, they were both from Barbados, says this person. Butler's his name, and she was a communications officer at RCIPS. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Yeah, then she took her to Barefoot Beach. Oh, such a sad, sad, sad situation. Oh my God. I remember this case. I struggled to, my God. So, it was Judge Alone. She was killed in October of 2014. And she was standing on a beach in East End. The body of her daughter was in the front seat of the car, covered with a blue comforter. So they had lots of, obviously, forensic and blood DNA in that one. The young girl had dozens of stab wounds to her head, neck, chest, and back. Jesus. And she tried to hide between the headboard and the wall behind the bed. So these are the circumstances surrounding what led up to it, right? So she tried to shave her daughter's head, but her husband, Lenford Butler, stepped in and stopped her. Mr. Butler had to work at the Georgetown police station at midnight that night. So before he left their Savannah home, he gave his daughter his cell phone and put 911 on speed dial, showing her how to call in case of an emergency. The child locked herself in the master bedroom when her father left. Now, he's got to be the dumbest police officer I've ever heard of. A 6-year-old child, you expect to be able to help themselves against an adult, against their mother, no less? You know how little convincing it would have taken to get that child to open the door for her mom? I mean, we teach children their entire lives to be obedient, especially to their parents and especially to your mother. All she had to do was tell her to unlock that door. Like, he really thought his daughter was in such danger that he leaves his cell phone, puts 911 on speed dial, and then leaves the child on her own and say, if something happens, call for help yourself. He would have been better taking that child to work with him and just letting her sleep in the police station. Find somebody's office that she could have slept in. I mean, I know that we lack emergency services in the sense that when something like this happens, you know, I don't know if the crisis center would have been able to take her just like that without taking him, but surely his supervisors would have understood why he needs to take off from once he told them what happened. So there was an attempted 911 call from the phone at about 10:38 p.m. And they, 2 patrol officers in East End found her like at 5 o'clock in the morning, found the car parked along the highway in East End. Okay. So they stopped and saw Butler in the bush off the road, her foot stuck in the rocks and several bed sheets on the ground nearby. So the officers saw that she had blood on her hands, so they gave her one of the sheets so she could get herself out of the hole in the sharp rock. They asked her if she was okay, and then she got in the car and drove off. The police officers then called her husband, the critical incident manager on duty that night for the police service. He was the critical incident manager, you can imagine. And Mr. Butler was on his way to check in on his family in Savannah when they called, having had to turn around and drive back to Georgetown to get his house key. The officers, joined by another patrol car from Bordentown, then searched the area. About an hour and a half later, they found the car and Bethany Butler's body along a small road to the beach, about a half mile from where they originally saw Butler. And the girl's head had been shaved. Wow. My God. Is the husband still here? I can't imagine that he would want to stay, but just curious. But yeah, again, this was one of those really, really puzzling cases where I always wondered, why didn't he do more for that child? Like, I couldn't understand that. I found it difficult to understand how he felt like he could leave that child to fend for herself. Wow. Did we ever hear a reason why? Just having a look at some more news stories. So they had a funeral service for her at the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Her family lived in Turkey, where her mother, Claudette Monroe Clare, is a former private school principal, and her stepfather is the former chief secretary of the island civil service. Wow. And apparently they have a bookstore in TCI. Okay. So she was living there and had only recently left to return to Grand Cayman. She was 37 years old. It's wild. Such a crazy story. So at some point they said she was under police guard. She was admitted to the hospital as a patient under the Cayman Islands health law for a period. And this is right before, I think, the trial. They were going to get the trial started. But obviously, they found her sane enough to stand trial and convicted her. Yeah. So he was a police sergeant. Let me just see. This is just so crazy. I just want to, so then they said that she could be held up to 6 months, I guess, in the mental ward. Let me see if that's what they did. And I do know that when she was in prison, they were, she was subject to some sort of medication, some mental health medication. So, pathologist examination. Yeah, so she was being held at the hospital at one point. What a hot mess. So we've had a couple cases. In November 2014, she was charged with murder. And then she appeared in Grand Court in December. And then April, she was still trying to get a trial date. June of 2015, it was adjourned again. Then she pled not guilty in August of 2015. And then her trial began in March of 2016. And then here's one. Father talks about a wife's paranoia. And this, again, is the part that is just so bizarre to me. If you see that someone is that paranoid, you still leave them. You still leave a child in their custody. And I think there was something about she thought he was cheating. There was some crazy situation there. So he says that his wife was increasingly erratic in her behavior and paranoia. He told the court that his wife, normally taking great pride in her hair, had shaved off her hair and eyebrows, and he found her sitting on the bed staring into a mirror. Why, he said, he asked her, and she replied, I don't know. So then he talked about, he heard the daughter screaming. He was trying to get into the shower. He finished his shower, and then by the time he got out, he found Brittany hiding from her mother in the closet in the master bedroom. So he said, quoting his daughter, she says, Mommy cut her hair off her head, and I know she wants to cut mine. So he said he kept his gaze on the attorneys and the judge, glancing only occasionally at his wife, who was sitting in the dock. He said he told his wife not to cut their daughter's hair. Beth has to go to school and face her friends. And he said that as he readied for work, he talked to his daughter. Wow. This is the only time in the testimony that Mr. Butler had to sit down and take a few minutes before he could get the words out. Beth said, can you take me to work with you? He told the court. My God. But he said no. Instead, he gave his daughter his cell phone and put 911 on the speed dial, and he told her, press the green button and it would go straight to 911. He then let his daughter lock herself in the master bedroom. Then he left for work shortly before midnight, and when he returned almost 5 hours later, prompted to leave work early and check on his family after he told the story to a coworker. The door to the bedroom had been broken in, and there were pools of blood on the bed, and the car was gone, along with his wife and daughter. So he didn't even have... This is just so weird. He didn't even have the foresight in that. I mean, okay. It would have been difficult for me to leave. I wouldn't have left a child in that situation. But even if I did, you then go to work. 5 hours go by before you check on the situation, only because a coworker says, gee, that doesn't sound like a good situation. You might want to check in. I'm sorry, but I would have been calling my coworkers, go by every 30 minutes, do a welfare check. I would have gone by. I don't understand. He clearly was not connected to think that, wow. Oh my God. Unbelievable. He said that his wife's behavior started to change in 2011 when she lost her job working the front desk as a civilian at the Georgetown police station, a job she had held since 2003. The couple married in 2002 and moved from TCI in 2003 when Mr. Butler received a job offer from the RCIPS. And he told the court they had a good relationship and his wife worked for many years with the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Town in various roles. The child was born in 2008, January of 2008. The defendant did not tell her husband that the police service was not going to renew her contract in 2011, keeping it a secret from him for 3 months until someone else in the RCIPS asked him what his wife planned to do when her contract ended. She got isolated, he said. She stopped talking to people in church. She would get angry when people touched her. If you ask her if she was all right, she'd say everything was okay, but you can see everything was not. He said his wife accused him of infidelity and sent emails with the accusations to their mutual friends. She moved out, living with Bethany at Lantern Point, and she became concerned that people were hacking into her emails and listening to her conversations. So here's a woman who was obviously paranoid. This is schizophrenia, paranoia. I don't know what the clinical diagnosis is. But again, what is shocking here is that you could see someone going down this path for years and you don't take more serious action, right? He called his wife's mother. She came to the Cayman Islands to bring her daughter and granddaughter back to TCI. And they came back 14 months later and moved into the family home in Savannah. But after some time back in Cayman, his wife stopped attending church and once again thought people were spying on her emails and conversations. The day of the killing, Tamara Butler had once again decided to pack up her and Bethany's things. Bags were packed and piled by the front door when Mr. Butler went to work that night. Oh, so crazy. My God. So I think the takeaway here, folks, is sometimes we see things that are happening and we got to recognize them for what they are, right? Especially when children are involved. Please, even if you might think you're overreacting, it's better to overreact than to underreact, right? So I know that there are people, even in baby Elicity's case, who, again, knew about the type of mother that Evanie was. We're not saying that she was suffering from any mental health issues, but they were aware of the drug use. They were aware of the cocaine use. They were aware of who she had living right in the house with this child. And I guess they thought that they couldn't do anything about it. And so this is where I want to really encourage members of the community that if you see a child in a situation where that child is being endangered, don't take it lightly, right? Don't assume that this child is going to be okay despite very obvious signs. A mother who is engaging in drugs, who is thinking it's okay to go to a bar, leave children in a car outside by themselves, who brings a seasoned criminal into her home. These are not, just to be clear, those are not normal things that mothers should be doing. I know some of you have accepted this behavior, right? You think that this behavior is okay. And I think the problem is when someone looks the part, when they look like this, who's going to really say, wow, she doesn't deserve to be a mother? These are the contradictions that we have to sometimes face, right? Someone can look like this and still be using cocaine, still have a historical pattern of dating men who are drug users themselves. And in this instance, a man who has a very, very extensive record. No one should have ever allowed baby Elicity or any of her children to actually be in her care. And I understand the contradictions, because you're thinking, well, she had a good job at Maple, supposedly, right? She was functional, even with the drug use. But how many signs do you actually need that someone is not a good parent and that child shouldn't be in her care? Right? That level of negligence as a community, we cannot ignore. Now, I know there was a lot of contention between her and the child's father. And, I remember that morning, one of her very, very close friends saying that, if she didn't really want that baby, I would have taken her. And I'm thinking, well, that's a fine time now for you to say that now that the child's dead. Because they saw signs that she didn't want to be a mother. She wasn't interested. Now she's talking about how much she loved her, and she can find little pictures of where she's dressed up and whatever, but her actions contradicted her words even today. Anthony reminds us that there was another child murder in the 1960s in East End. I think I remember hearing about this because I met his mother some years back, and I kind of heard a little bit of that story as well. Pretty wild. It doesn't happen often in Cayman that children are subjected to that type of crime. But I can tell you they are subjected to neglect on a regular basis. And there are parents who have mental health issues, who sometimes are mothers or fathers, and you have to take the children away. Remember the guy who tried to bury his own son? Right? Thankfully, that child, they were able to dig the child up. The child hadn't died. That was another case where that child could have easily died. So when you see people either acting erratically, or even if they're not acting erratically, Catherine says that he was mentally checked out himself, cognitive dissonance. I agree with that for sure. In a state of denial, right? Because the history there from that other case clearly demonstrates that she had been struggling for a really long time, and he was ignoring every possible sign that there was. Yeah. Didn't even call, check on that. Yeah, he was just ignoring everything. And so many of us don't want to accept what is right in front of our faces. We would rather pretend that people are okay when they're not okay. When all the signs are there that, either they're struggling. I mean, obviously she seems to have been struggling with something in her life after losing her job. And we just ignore it. We don't get people into counseling. We don't get them medical professional, medical help. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hi, Miss Brenda.
How are you?
Oh gosh, I got my sinuses acting up again today. But
Oh,
otherwise, I'm good.
oh, and belated happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I think you had a wonderful one.
Yes, yes. Just glad to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yeah, I have a brother who has a birthday today.
Oh, I think
Mhm.
isn't he your only brother?
No,
Oh,
I have
you have
3
more than
brothers.
Oh, you have 3. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, I don't then I don't know which one, but happy birthday to Miss Brenda's brother. He may be listening.
Yeah, it's
So
my
so
second
so
brother who
then
has a birthday today.
so then you will know that August babies are just the best because you have one in the family.
Oh, well, you know what? My mother was born in August also.
Oh,
She was
really?
August 5th. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
And I have a nephew. My mother died on his birthday, the
Oh,
22nd of August. Yeah.
oh no.
So,
Mhm.
but anyway, Sandra,
Mhm.
I would like to weigh in a little bit here
Sure.
on the other child, the butler child, I think is the name. The little 6-year-old one.
Yeah, Bethany.
Mhm. Bethany, that's right. Sandra, let me tell you something. I was speaking to a police officer, and well, he's no longer on island, but he was here at the time. And he knew these people. They came from the same island.
Mm-hmm.
And when this little girl was killed, he was
Mhm.
devastated, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because he told me a lot of stuff that had happened. And I'm going to say it was all ignored. And
Yeah, it seems
the,
so.
the child's mother was schizophrenic, okay? You probably remember that when she worked at the police station, she had a fixation on Deputy Commissioner Innes.
Oh,
This is how they all figured out that something wasn't right.
okay.
And well, let me just state, allegedly,
Mm-hmm.
this is why she had lost her job.
Oh
But
boy.
when they realized something wasn't right, they called her husband in. They spoke to him, told him, and I guess I'm pretty sure by then he knew that she had mental problems. And so she'd lost her job, and he took her to, to Turks and Caicos Islands, where I think it's the mother.
Her mother lives there apparently.
One of the parents is a high-ranking politician. So they took her to have her put in an institution. It was either there or in the island they came from. But her mother, decided it wasn't a good image for her with her job to have her daughter in an institution. So she sent her back to Cayman to the husband. And the husband was very much aware that something was absolutely wrong with his wife, even if he didn't know what it was. Other police who were aware that something was wrong, they would do drive-bys just to check on this woman and this child. This police officer told me that one day he went to the house, he was doing a drive-by. He went to the house, and when he went to the door, she came to the window and she was picking her hair out, and like sort of eating it. And, he just said, hello, and how are you, and so on. But he said she came across as, very hostile. But he understood that something was wrong. And it was just out of his concern and knowing them and he also had young children, so I guess he could relate to that. And he called the husband and told the husband, you need to go home and check on your wife. Something is going on there. She's there picking her hair out, eating her hair. And on more than one occasion, the mother, in her manic, if you want to say manic, I don't know if that goes with schizophrenic or schizophrenia or not.
I think there's separate mental health
Yeah,
diagnosis, but yeah.
they're separate. But I was saying I don't know if manic goes with
Oh,
schizophrenia.
if you can have
I
it at the
don't
same
know.
time, yeah.
But I know for sure that paranoia goes with it. And I know that some schizophrenics are violent, some are not. Obviously, she was violent with hers. And so the woman was there in her state, unmedicated, untreated, unattended to. And she said the husband had a mistress. And there is something about this whole thing that I have always questioned. And I'm not here accusing this man, but I'm going to state something. I don't know of any shift that starts at midnight. And the story was at the time that he wasn't supposed to be working that night, but he had gotten called out to work at some ungodly hour, knowing that his child was already in danger. And now I say, if you weren't supposed to be working and you got called out, you could easily have said, I don't have anyone to watch my child. My wife is not well, as you know. Can you find someone else? Or say, I can come in, but I have to bring my child with me. That would have been acceptable. Or alternatively, call one of her friends or one of your friends and say, I've gotten called out to work, but I don't have anyone to stay with my child. You know, I cannot leave her with her mother. So the way I look at it, it should have been a choice. And that's assuming, and I'm going to stress that it was really work he was going to. So for me, that would have been a choice of protecting my child or losing that job.
Yes.
And he would not have lost his job if he refused to go because of his circumstances. So this too was something that could have been prevented had the mother been taken care of.
I mean, I agree that there was too many signs here that something was wrong.
Well, the woman
for
was
years.
diagnosed. She was diagnosed.
I mean, I think eventually, once they arrested her for this, then she was properly diagnosed. But why wasn't she?
She was diagnosed before. She was diagnosed before. It was known. I just told you that she had been sent home or sent to wherever her mother is.
I mean, the testimony was that she went back for some 14 months, I think it was.
Well, like I said, she was in some institution in one of the other islands. And this I got from that police officer as well. But the mother, who's a high-ranking politician, her parents felt it wasn't a good image for them in their capacity to have their daughter there.
Well, the news reporting said that the parents were a high-ranking teacher, the mother, and the father was a what did I just say? But they weren't they weren't politicians. He was something else. But
I'm just telling you what I was told.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever they were, what I'm now saying is that pride got in the way of them also protecting their child. And they left their grandchild in the care of a schizophrenic mother. As horrible as it seems, that mother should never have been found guilty of murder. Or if they were going to find her guilty, it had to be guilty by mental defect. Or not guilty by reason of mental defect and then put in an institution. Now, she was medicated after the murder and during the time she was awaiting trial. So obviously she didn't look then the way she looked at the time that she killed her child. And after she killed her child, she took her child, as you said, wrapped her in a blanket, was driving towards East End or going east with the child. 2 police officers saw the vehicle, recognized the vehicle, flagged her down, and saw this thing in the front seat, which they thought was a blanket and a comforter and so on. They called her husband and said, "Oh, looks like your wife is on the move tonight." "Well, why do you say that?" "Well, we just saw her and she's got blanket and pillow and stuff in the car." So they assumed she was going to meet someone, another man. And he, knowing his wife's situation, or her condition, I should say, didn't get up to move then either, to go to check on his child. Didn't ask, "Well, is my child with her?"
Mm-hmm.
And it has also been alleged that he was not at work that night, but in fact, he was with his mistress.
Mm.
And I would have questioned that whole work story, because I don't know of any shift where you go on at midnight. They do 12-hour shifts. So it's from 7 to 7.
7 to 7, yeah.
Okay, and 7 to 7. So something's wrong with that part of the story. And one of your commenters said something that I always said and I agree with, and I maintain that he should have been charged also, because he was aware of the situation, yet he did nothing to protect his child. He could have even had his child temporarily removed from that home. He himself could have gotten up and left the home with his child to protect his child, since he felt he had no assistance with his wife. Well, at least let her stay in the house then and not be any harm to his child. So again, everyone failed that little girl. The school knew. The school told the father. I don't know who else they told. But these are cases where child services drag their feet and they take absolutely too long to intervene. Because had they intervened with little Elicity's mother, she might still be alive today. But they don't take these things serious enough.
Yep. Thank you, Miss Brenda.
But if they come and find you disciplining your daughter, then they can haul you in and say you were abusing your child.
And,
so everybody's to blame.
Let me say this, because I think this is relevant to something that is happening right now. In the last couple of weeks, we saw a case where a child was on social media posting a video saying that his life was in danger after his father says an incident happened a year and a half ago. Now, I don't know who else is paying attention to this case, but I think, and this is just lay persons here, that this is another such case that they need to look closely at the mental health and well-being of that father and consider whether or not this young child, I mean, he's a teenager now, I think he's 12 or 13, but how much contact he should be having with a father who has convinced him that people are trying to murder him. You see how things are coming to us. It's apparent that if you're that paranoid and you think and you've convinced a 13-year-old child that his life is in danger, where he's doing videos reaching out to Donald Trump, the NHL, CIFA, CONCACAF, U.S. authorities, all sorts of people, local politicians.
Is this happening here?
Yes,
in
yes,
Cayman?
yes.
You see, well, again,
and this person, once again, is a civil servant working at Radio Cayman, and the people who are responsible, who are responsible for him, even in terms of his employment, are simply not paying attention. His child has used his work phone to send voice notes to Radio Cayman clients, customers from his work phone, saying that somebody's trying to kill him and he's trying to reach Minister Anglin. He's trying to reach the premier. He's trying to reach this one. If that is not an example of some sort of mental degradation, I don't know what is. And nobody's taking it seriously.
Or you know what? Let's just make it simple, a cry for help.
Something.
And let me ask a question.
But who
where
right
is
now?
The mother?
Well,
where is the child's mother in this matter now?
Again,
where's the child's mother?
People become afraid of these people who exhibit certain types of behavior, right? And they do nothing until it's too late. And then when it's too late, we're doing a show looking at all the warning signs that were obviously there.
Sandra, let me say something. If people like you and I in the general public can recognize this as something not normal, why is it that the professionals aren't? Why don't they call Dr. Lockhart? Get Dr. Lockhart to come and have a look and assess this child or the father. Maybe, these are things, like I said, if action was taken immediately, they could be prevented. So it doesn't matter who is crying out for help. I think what we can all agree on is that somebody there needs help. And
Absolutely.
if it continues, it's going to take on that snowball effect. And it will end tragically as well. That's not what we want. But if it's being ignored, what else is going to happen? Then you're going to arrest a child and put him in jail? Or if the father's the one with the mental issues, you're going to arrest him and find him guilty and put him in jail? People with mental illnesses do not belong in prisons. They need to be institutionalized and treated. Some of them stay there for life, but they should never be sent to prison. And if they were being attended to, getting their medication and so on, do you know how many bipolar and schizophrenic people live amongst us? You know why we don't? Because they are medicated. Somebody's looking out for them. And once it's in your family, you are responsible because they're not. So everybody should think about that. That is nothing to be ashamed of. Nobody asked to be born with a mental illness. But if it has visited upon you, for God's sake, somebody that's related to the person, say something to someone, do something.
Yeah. All right, leave me there. Thank you so much. So just to clarify a couple things, one person says that in those days, there was a shift actually that started at midnight. There were 3 separate shifts with RCIPS. One is 7 to 7, but there was also one that started at midnight. So I'll put that out there because, again, I'm certainly no expert on the RCIPS's, scheduling. So one person who used to know says there was one that actually started at midnight. Someone else who is, a fellow officer at the time said they're both from Barbados. Butler's his name. She was a communications officer at RCIPS, and she cut all of the baby's hair off as well. She killed her because she found out that he was cheating, and she knew that he loved his daughter a lot. So the only way to get back at him was to kill her. And then he says she went to Queens Highway where she killed the baby. Well, she killed the baby at home, apparently, and then drove around with the baby. Left the baby in the car and tried to kill herself by going to the water, but she couldn't do it. She's found in the rocks sitting down. Another person says the other kid's dad took them because this is in relation to Vanny. Morning, Sandra. Remember the mother said that she changed the baby at 4:30, but by 5:30 a.m., the child was reported missing, and a picture of the boyfriend by the door looking at the ground with a cigarette or spliff in his hand. The other kids Dad took them because she was leaving the 3 of them by themselves. It's funny how the Brackers won't talk. They know what was going on. Even the last landlord had to vacate her property because of the disturbances to other neighbors. So to be very, very clear, Evanie is, I don't think she's a mental health case, but she's certainly an example of someone who has exhibited really, really poor behavior. And it's unfortunate because for quite some time, one of her traits that is very, very interesting is she seems to like the bad boy, right? She seems to only be attracted to men who are no good for her. And her father is, I think his name is David. What is her father's name again? But he's known in Cayman as Cayman's biggest numbers guy. I'm just going to tell you what he's known in the street as. He's never been convicted of this, obviously, because that would be an offense. But when I say that will probably let you guys know who the father is. And I can't remember who her mom is, but I think his name is David Ebanks or David something. Caymanian. So I understand that he has really tried a lot with her. At one point, he had sent her to school Obviously, she dropped out. She wasn't going to classes. She wasn't doing anything. I think he has a sister or something that lives overseas. And he, attempted to, she even had an apartment overseas, trying to help her, although not overseas, apartment in Prospect or something. But, he was trying to help her. And sometimes there's only so much that we can do to help our kids once they become adults. And, she ended up losing that apartment, again, because of her behavior. And so when people don't have their lives together, the worst thing that they can do is to introduce a child into the equation. So crazy. There you go. Well, caller, I was once told that the courts can't order someone to undergo a mental evaluation. The person has to agree to have one done. A mentally challenged person will say they're fine. We do need to have this conversation because, funny enough, I was talking to an MP about this yesterday. What it takes to get someone, I think it's called Section 13 here in Cayman. In the US, they call it the Baker's Act. It is a lot here. And the people who you think would be able to step in and get someone, first of all, the facilities are still limited in terms of what care they can get. But it's not that easy to force someone who is having a mental break to get the help that they need. You guys know that there's this guy on Instagram, right? I don't know what his proper name is. I think he's from East End, but don't hold me to it. He lost an eye because he was driving on the not Esterly Tib, the one here in Newland, East-West arterial. And some kids were throwing rocks at vehicles, and one went through his car windshield and actually messed up his eye pretty bad. And I think he ended up losing one of his eyes. But he constantly does videos online all the time. The guy has a mental health condition, right? And to the best of my knowledge, they can't institutionalize this guy. I don't know what exactly he's been diagnosed with, but all you have to do is go look on his social media page, and it's obvious that he's crazy. And yet nobody can do anything about him. They just let him sit there. He does all of these, Instagram and TikTok videos. He talks pure craziness. He gets fixated on people. People have sent me messages where he's talking about underage girls and what he's done to them. And I don't even know if that's true, and everybody seems helpless. The police like, oh, well, he has mental health issues. I'm like, yes, but it is possible for someone to have mental health issues and commit a crime and be held accountable for that crime. And that has happened with Miss Butler. So Crown prosecutor, who, funny enough, at the time was Cheryl Richards, who's now a judge, said because she claimed that she's following God's command. And she said, following God's command or not, did she know what she was doing? And they did have Dr. Lockhart testify, Dr. Lockhart, my apologies, testify in this trial. And it says here, according to the reporting, that in transcribed sessions with psychiatrist Dr. Mark Lockhart, Ms. Richards said that the doctor led the defendant to answer in certain ways to make sure that she sounded less stable. She's thinking about culpability in her mind very, very clearly, she said. So this is what the prosecution was saying at the time. The prosecutor pointed to who Butler responded to after police found her and whether it was, as the defense and several doctors suggested, in a catatonic state. She did not respond to officers when she got to the hospital, but she did respond to a doctor, and she got an exam on an exam table when requested. So just because you have mental health issues, that does not mean that criminal culpability is removed from you, right? So that's a long-standing principle in law that, yes, you might have had some issues and you will still be held accountable for the act. Ultimately, I don't know what judge was handling this case, but ultimately the judge found that she would have known what she was doing, essentially, right? And so she was held accountable for that. And she does get medication, I think, in prison for whatever mental health issues she has. Trying to see if I can see what judge it was that eventually, and I haven't read the judge's decision, but I do think that the judge would have obviously considered the sanity argument, and then obviously he found, because then in March she was found guilty. So Justice Alistair Malcolm delivered the verdict. And he said he did not have evidence that the mother had an abnormality of mind that would have warranted a lesser sentence of manslaughter. So not murder, but in her case, manslaughter. So central to the defense was testimony from mental health professionals, including psychiatrist Dr. Mark Lockhart, that Butler said she heard voices and God told her that her daughter was a demon and to kill her. Butler sat silently in the court as the judge read the verdict, her hands folded, her gaze wandered from the judge to the ceiling and to the people assembled to hear the verdict. So apparently, he says there was no evidence that she was hearing voices. This is what he said. The Grand Court judge said in the verdict, and he said Butler did not talk about hearing voices until her second interview with Dr. Lockhart. And so again, these details obviously become important. So I'm sure he's not saying that she doesn't need medication and she's not having some sort of mental health issues, but it was not enough to remove culpability. Justice Malcolm said that the argument did not make sense because she says that she didn't get any help because of the stigma associated with psychological troubles. The stigma of mentally ill is greater than the stigma of killing your daughter. So he said psychiatrists testified that Butler did not have significant symptoms after the arrest, and the judge said he agreed with one of the expert witnesses that the symptoms would not have disappeared the way that they have. And her husband, Lenford Butler, which I understand still works with the RCIPS, sat in the courtroom to hear the sentencing. In full uniform, he listened attentively, holding his chin in his hands as the judge read the hour-long verdict. So it's just crazy. So folks, erratic behavior comes in many shapes and forms. And I think that all of us need to pay attention to when we see erratic behavior in individuals to identify it. Like I said, I'm very concerned about a present case that I think needs some intervention. And so up to yesterday, quite ironically enough, I was talking to a politician about that matter. And it seems like it is very, very difficult nobody seems to be able to step in. The mother is trying to stay out of the crosshairs, because it's been a very tumultuous situation for her in terms of the divorce and a custody battle that has clearly been ongoing. And the DCFS, they claim that they can't do anything. By law, their powers are very, very limited. So who steps in when you feel like a parent is having some sort of a psychosis or mental health break, or even if it's not an actual break, but doing things that is to their child's detriment in a very public way? Who steps in to help? Everybody just sits by and is like, what do we do? I mean, the social media, the constant emails, all of that demonstrates a certain type of behavior that should be concerning to people who are paying attention to this situation. And I can't help but wonder who's actually paying attention. Marika says Ivania has to have some sort of mental disorder with this whole case. Only someone not well can portray these behaviors. I don't think I think there are people who just do what they want to do and they don't want to be parents and they're living their best lives and it is what it is. Island Pearl says that's Andre Ante. He needs to be the first patient at Point Siena. And once again, unless he breaks the law, which I think a couple times they picked him up, there seems to be very little people can do. And most people with mental health issues are the last people to accept that they have mental health issues. Ms. Brenda says this is where family is key. Someone has to step in. Sandy, that's not the story about the eye. He's from North Side, and his eye was lost when another cokehead threw a rock at his car when he was driving by in North Side. Oh, I had heard it was related to the kids who were throwing it on the arterial. Well, there you go. Close though. If it didn't go so, it was pretty close. It was someone who threw a rock at his car. Yeah, he lost his eye. I think he was overseas for a while, and what a mess. There's a lot of mental issues in the US and nothing done either. Women voting to kill babies at 28 weeks, men dressing as women, and so Damien. Really? That for you to say something like, you got to ask, when was the last time you had a mental health valuation? Morning, Miss Sherry Ann. A fine case of those in power being very ignorant to the facts and circumstances of mental health, says Miss Brenda. Social services should be able to help. They say it's outside of their remit because the law only gives them certain powers. Andre Challenger, he's from North Side. Yeah, he shows a lot of issues. Okay, so David Watler's her dad. Francella Dixon is the mom. Her mom is from where? Where's the Cayman Brat connection? He bought her an apartment. Her grandmother raised her in Cayman Brac. She was well taken care of by her father. And still out here making such incredibly poor decisions. Wow. What a hot mess. Really, really sad situation. But again, I think it just, makes us understand how many issues we have in our community, mental health and otherwise, that we really need to be contemplating solutions for before things happen. Why do we always have to be so reactive and wait until something happens before we go, oh, wow, yeah, we need to, we need to put at least the mechanism in place to deal with these types of situations. So incredibly unfortunate. Miss Joyce Ann says a child is yours to protect, even from their father and mother need be. Children are a gift from God. So many children would give anything to have a child, and those, I think you meant so many adults would give anything to have a child, and those that have some of them don't want them. They want the man, and when the man is gone, they don't care about the children. So very, very true. YouTuber, remembering that other case, says, yes, Anthony, that little boy in East End was killed for Obia, and his mother served time when it was done by two Obia worshipers right there from East End. That story is a wild, wild story. And to think that it happened all those years ago, it's just crazy. Ms. Brenda says, gotta get the rumptism in Damien. What a hot mess. So, yeah, pretty wild. All right, couple other cases that we are obviously watching in the system at this time is we had a lady who left the jurisdiction because nobody took her passport, I guess. I mean, this one is wild. Jamaican lady assaulted her then boyfriend or side piece or whatever. So she was facing criminal trespass and common assault. And those are not, obviously it's not a murder case. So in certain instances like this, they may not take a passport, but I think someone is a flight risk. Obviously, if they're not from Cayman, if they wanted her to stand trial, they should have taken her passport. And so she has now since left the jurisdiction. And they didn't even know this, which is so weird because not only did they not take her passport, they didn't even have in the system a notice to say, she can't travel. She has a pending case, nothing. So when she was able to book right with Cayman Airways and get on the flight and leave, and apparently it was only in summary court on Thursday that they found out that she actually left the jurisdiction on June the 20th, 2 months before. So they say that her departure reportedly coincided with the expiry of her work permit, and she'd been informed of a trial date on the 18th, 2 days before she left Cayman, and attempts to contact her were unsuccessful, the court was told. Messages were sent on Wednesday and again on Thursday, received no response when immigration authorities reportedly confirmed that she was no longer on island. Slackness. So, of course, her departure and bail and failure to attend court were a breach of her bail conditions. Chief Magistrate said a warrant would be issued after she's arrested, adding that if she believed she had a defense to the allegations, she should return to the Cayman Islands and allow the court to resolve the case. And so now the court dismissed a separate charge of failing to surrender because the DPP's office had incorrectly laid the charge because no warrant had been issued on August the 3rd. So now that the warrant has been issued, I guess they can add that, just change the date. But pure slackness. If someone has a court date, folks, you got to ensure that their ability to travel and leave the jurisdiction is restricted, and that's fairly easy to do. They can be flagged, quite frankly, in the immigration portal. And I don't even know if they notify Cayman Airways per se, but yeah, this would have been an easy one. And so now we'll see what happens. I don't know that they're going to go out of their way for common assault, which again is, she probably would not have even gotten any jail time or anything for this. I mean, it would have most likely been a slap on the wrist, but she would have had a criminal record. And maybe that is what she was actually running from. Anthony says common assault is not even arrestable. No big thing. Best and most economical thing for the judiciary was her leaving. The money the person put up to sign bail for her will be demanded and paid. So and so million plus 500 from bail in her coffers. Well, listen, I agree that these are not the most serious of offenses. However, now she's got an arrest warrant out for her. And I agree with what the judge said. You come to court and you face the charges before you. I mean, listen, I have never in my life, and I've had a lot of charges, all kind of foolishness, right? But I guess it hits different when you know you're innocent. I mean, let's be honest. Why am I running as an innocent person? I didn't do anything wrong. So I always want to defend myself. In fact, right now, I'm wondering why the DPP's office is taking such a long time to bring my final case right now to bear, because they served me, when was it? Do you guys remember? Sometime earlier this year, I think, or late last year. And here we are again. And I'm saying to them, what's taking you so long? I'm ready. The second they bring papers to me, I am ready to defend myself. Because guess what? I know I haven't done anything wrong. Okay? And they have not set a date. I've not had a trial date. No one has, and I emailed them over a month ago and said, can I please get a trial date? I'm here begging for a trial date so that I can have my day in court and, have this dealt with. And they're like, oh, looks like it fell through the cracks. Wow. Okay. So I think it's unusual, not unheard of, but it is unusual for an innocent person to. So this was December of last year. And here we are in August, almost September, and I can't get a trial date. They charge you, they serve you, and then they just disappear. And I want my day in court. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm eager, right? They lost the last case, and I'm eager for them to lose this one too. Now, if they've changed their minds about it, you gotta fess up and do what you gotta do. That's this one, in case you guys have forgotten, because I know I'll be losing track. That's another reason why we got to get it on, because I'd be like, what case are we on now? 10 cases? Like, seriously? And then I won none yet? So this is one with McKeeva Bush and his alleged girlfriend, Milady Williams, because we had some choice words for her during the campaign in February. Wait, no, when was that? I think March and April. What are they claiming? March and April of 2025 or something. Yep. So they're not winning this case, but we need to just get it on, right? And taking their time. I'm just like, why? So if you're innocent, I don't care how small or how big the charges are, stay and fight. Don't run, right? You'll get a legal aid appointed attorney, no doubt. And so face the charges. Say what happened. Okay? This guy is cheating on you, or you're the side piece and he got another side piece. Explain it to the judge. It would have literally been a slap on the wrist for you. Nobody wasn't putting you in jail. Of course, it's going to affect your work permit. No doubt about that. You're not going to be able to stay in Cayman, but you shouldn't expect to be able to stay in Cayman either. You know what I mean? Blissful British says, too bad a Caymanian can't run so easy, but she sure did. Run, gal, run. Their negligence kiss my damn teeth. Oh, Lord, have mercy. The judge's warrant is not worth the paper it's printed on. Basic criminal trespass section 2771, entering or remaining unlawfully on a property without lawful permission, fine up to $1,000. It will cost the judiciary 10 times that to prosecute her. But here's the thing, right? We can't simply look at the cost of prosecution and say that that's the full picture, Anthony, because if that's the case, you would probably never prosecute anybody. You would let everybody go. And what you find is that sometimes these cases are a stepping stone to further criminality. So when people start trespass on property, common assault, you do nothing because you say, oh, it's not worth it. It's not worth the money that we're going to spend to prosecute her. Then what does she do next time? Next time, it's just not criminal assault or common assault, rather. She thinks, oh, they weren't bothered with common assault. So next time I'll stab him. And then it becomes ADH, or it becomes slaughter or murder. So part of the reason why you prosecute people, hopefully successfully, DPP's office, is to send a message that this behavior is against the law and it will not be tolerated. You will be arrested. You will have your freedoms put in jeopardize. Someone like her, I don't know what kind of work she was doing in Cayman, but I'm sure it wasn't anything on the higher end of the pay scale. So $1,000 could be a significant deterrence for her, so that the next time, she thinks twice about getting involved in assaulting someone, even if it's common assault. It can be recorded on your record. And so then, does that mean that she won't get a U.S. visa or, work permit or other things? There are consequences. So I think from that perspective, you pursue charges, even things that are considered on the lower end of the scale, although, yes, it might be costing the country more. You can't look at just the actual monetary cost. It's more of the message that you're sending. So Rennie says, I've been waiting for over 2 years for a traffic matter to be brought before the court. After fed up waiting, I had no choice to go to my insurance provider, looking like the person who caused the damage will get away due to a failure of the system. Very sad. Very sad. And then the even sadder thing about it, Rennie, is that unfortunately, even if they get a criminal conviction and order that person to pay, then you have got to really be chasing them for payment. It's like, you know, me in my case with Carrie, the judge ordered her to pay my cost for one hearing. Now I'm not getting the money, and she's refusing to pay it. But don't worry, we're going to be before the judge again very, very soon. And when he sees her continued defiance of court orders, we'll see from there. Unbelievable. But again, this is something that could have easily been prevented in terms of someone leaving the jurisdiction. Some of them do leave illegally on a boat, but that's not what she did. She walked right through the airport, big and bold, packed up her stuff and headed out of here. So this person says the lady leaving the jurisdiction is just a shame, and yet again, a clear indication of failure in the operational arm of the civil service. Who is holding anyone accountable? From the judicial arm communicating to the other relevant government agencies in a timely manner, to the response of the CBC to update the system, to flag any individual along with holding one's travel documents, even if the flight was not an issue, the fact still remains nothing was placed in the system. Slackness. Who is being held accountable for the failings? This is a joke on our system and clear evidence of how much work is still needed. And I'm going to wholeheartedly agree with that. Just a reminder, folks, you've got some important consultation periods now that are upon us. And I want to ensure that all of you are participating in the process. So I'm going to remind you now about the tobacco bill specifically.
The government is inviting the public to share their views on proposed changes to tobacco and vaping laws. The proposal aims to protect our young people, strengthen vaping rules, and address concerns about disposable vapes. We want to hear from parents, educators, businesses, and the wider community. The consultation opens on the 21st of August. Log on to publicconsultation.gov.ky to help shape the future of tobacco and vaping policy in the Cayman Islands.
All right. So someone speaking about the Tamara Butler case says that Tamara doesn't even want to hear anything about other people's children. All she want to do is dress up and do her makeup and ask if she looks good. That's in prison? Oh, God. She got time. Morning. Actually, many people offered to take the child and she refused. I'm talking about Evania now Dixon. And as the woman leaving, who monitors or determines the removal of travel documents? So the first thing is the court would have had to have ordered it. So a judge would have had to make that part of her bail conditions. Well, let me back up first. It depends on whether or not she had appeared in court before. Based on what is said here, it does look like she was in court before and she had a court date set. Okay. So there's certain assumptions that I'm making based on how the article is written. So she had a trial date set for the 20th. And that means that she would have had a first court appearance. She would have received documents. She would have entered a not guilty plea. And so it looks like the court then, because when you first get arrested, the police do your bail conditions, right? So they may say, on your own recognizance or whatever. When you actually get to court, so when you're charged and you get to court and you have your first court appearance, the judge then has the ability to consider bail conditions. It does say that part of her bail conditions was that it says her departure and failure to attend court was said to be in breach of her bail conditions. So she wasn't allowed to leave the jurisdiction. So normally they'll say you can't be within some amount of whatever feet of the port. But obviously what they didn't do is they did not ask for the surrender of her passport. That seems like where they failed. However, if they had put in the bail condition specifically, and I'd have to see the bail conditions to know exactly what the wording was, that she was not supposed to leave be within a certain feet of the port or whatever, that should have gone into the system. So lots of questions there about why that wasn't done. And I'm assuming that somebody at court who notifies the judiciary of the judge's instructions, what the bail conditions are, and they update it. So someone goes on to say that about the Tamara Butler case, when they were there before her trial, she would stand up naked in her cell, pee up herself, and act like she was crazy. And after she got sentenced, all of the acting stopped and pure dress up. Another person says CBC didn't have to flag it in the system. The RCAPS has access to that system too. Oh, yeah? Another slackness by the RCAPS. Let me ask Mr. Kurt Walton about this one. Curious indeed. But normally the police are not at court taking the notes. So this is why I'm saying that once it goes to court and it becomes a court matter, I don't know if somebody at court has access to the system or how they communicate it. So I'm gonna get that answered today though, because that is a very curious question, and I want to know how the workflow happens. So I'll get to the bottom of that. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Morning, dear. Not bad. How you doing?
All right. Yeah, just a quick comment about the lady that left the jurisdiction.
Yes, sir.
As I am understanding it, maybe they overlooked about her surrendering her passport. Was that a real genuine mistake, or that was just some kind of camouflage and know what it was doing, but it didn't do what it was supposed to do? This country, I'm telling you this Monday morning, is in dire straits. And people that should be in charge of this country, they're not in charge of this country. And Caymanians, I am so embarrassed and ashamed of some of my Caymanians that they just sweep this under the rug like nothing happens. There's so much unscrupulous thing that's going on into this island. It's unbelievable. Nobody's accountable. Nobody is accountable. Just some John Joe dry weather excuse about if people like that don't know the law, they should not be in the position. Let's put it that way. But it is not a good situation. I am so disgusted at what's going on in this country. And nobody is accountable. May I repeat myself? Nobody is accountable. How the hell is that?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, my dear. I appreciate it. Yeah, it is. I mean, listen, we got to ask these questions because we cannot continue to have these mistakes made time and time again with no accountability. Nobody's asking the questions. Nobody's answering the questions. And as a result, everything just falls through the cracks. You know, we as a community deserve to know how does this happen? Because we need to close the loopholes, however it's happening. Sherry Ann says, I need to talk to you off air. You can certainly reach me. I think you got my number already. She was on bail. The police can take her passport for surety. If she, what's going on with your typing, Anthony? Is something bailed? Like I said, if the judge because remember now, like I said, you get arrested, the police can put certain bail conditions in place. That's police bail. When you go to court, the judge then is normally asked to consider specific bail conditions for the individual that overrides the police bail. It replaces the police bail because you're no longer in police custody. You're now before the court, right? So it now becomes the court's responsibility. So how does it go from the courthouse to the whatever CBC system or immigration system? That's then the next question. And I aim to find that out today. Ms. Brenda said, instead of having these consultations, time and money should be spent doing a proper overhaul of the HSA, fire, retire, and replace all and sundry. Well, I mean, they have to have consultations by law when a bill is being amended. So that's part and parcel of the process. So that doesn't mean that they can't still deal with the HSA, to be clear. That now, we will have guests on Wednesday from the Ministry of Health who will be coming on talking about these 4 bills. So if you're interested in knowing more about these bills, please tune in for sure, because we'll have all the details on how you can participate. All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We really appreciate your contributions as always. And we'll pick up the conversation tomorrow morning. So this person says, morning, Miss Sandra. Speaking of women/others, let me put my glasses back on, with mental health, drug addictions, the women's section at Caribbean Haven is currently closed, including its inpatient treatment programs for women struggling with drug addictions. Please shed some light on this so the reopening will be treated with priority. I'm so glad you mentioned this, because someone mentioned it to me before, and I'm trying to recall, because I did inquire about it, and there was some reason that was given, but then, as you rightfully said, these things tend to be swept underneath the rug, and we need to know why. So I'm going to reach out about that right now, actually. We need to know why it isn't a priority. So right now, what's happening is there's no place for women with drug issues at Caribbean Haven. So there's no in-house treatment for women. This, to me, is crazy. Women are denied on a regular basis healthcare, access to healthcare services and whatever. And right now, if you're a woman suffering with drug addiction, there's a space for the men to go and get treatment, and there's nothing for the women. The women who are mothers, business owners, taking care of potentially elderly individuals, there is nothing for them. No in-house treatment center whatsoever. That's unacceptable for a place like Cayman. I'm sorry. It really is. We got to do better. We have got to do better. Good question. Very, very good question. I'm going to chase it up again, because I was aware of it, and evidently nothing happened. All right, folks. Tomorrow, mañana, is Tuesday. Thank you so much. We'll be back here in the saddle, God's willing, with lots of information. Join the channel if you haven't already. Please join the channel. Lots of good news stories coming out. I know there's some stuff with the HSA. We're not the HSA. There's a news story I was just thinking about that's going to be dropping today. Oh, education. My apologies. Education's doing quite a bit. Hopefully we can get the minister on this week. Obviously, they're preparing for children to go back to school this week. So let me just see if we can get him on this week. Yeah. So I do have some details that we'll be posting on both social media and some of our other platforms. So joining the channel ensures that you get notification of all of those things. And it's easy to join. Here's a little video on how you join. Cayman Mall Road is always keen to bring you the latest news first as it happens. So we've switched on WhatsApp channels to make it more convenient for both you and us to get all of the latest news alerts, traffic alerts, and everything else that's happening in your community. It's really, really simple to join the channel. First, just make sure that you've got the latest version of the WhatsApp application installed on your smart device. Then scan the barcode that you see here on the screen. That's going to open up the channel page and gives you the option to follow it. So you're going to want to click on follow. Then step number 2, at the top right hand corner, you're going to see the button that says turn on notifications. It's the little bell, so simply click on it and it'll turn it on, because by default notifications are off for channels. And then that's pretty much it. At the bottom of your phone, when you're in WhatsApp, you'll see an area called updates, and that is where you'll click to see the WhatsApp channel, and all of your daily updates will be there. And you can even go back to when the channel was first set up several months ago and see everything that's been posted. It's a great way to keep up with CMR and everything that we're posting to bring you Cayman's latest news. All right, so that's now been several years ago, not several months ago, that the channel was set up, but that's the best way to join the channel. I'm going to update the audio on that and do some new graphics. All right, folks, have yourselves an absolutely beautiful and amazing Monday. We're off to a good start. Work hard. Hard work never kill nobody, as Aunt Lottie used to say. Y'all will be just fine. And we'll see you on tomorrow morning at 7:30. Don't forget, tune in this evening, 5 to 7 p.m. with Sabrina Speaks. She has a phenomenal show where she covers topical subjects just like we do. She tends not to repeat a lot of the same stuff, or she gives her own spin on it, to be honest, because her perspective can be very different. Her style is very different as well. She's a teacher. And so tune in, get your lessons, and we're still looking for someone to do some midday coverage. So if you're interested in doing a midday talk show, do reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk to you as we move ever so closer to getting that radio license sorted out. And then we're going to have a full 24 hours worth of content that we need to fill. So if you've got the desire, the talent, and the work ethic, might be a good match for you right here on CMR Radio. So please reach out. See you guys tomorrow morning. Have a blessed and beautiful day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.